raised high, don't worry, brothers and sisters, it's all figured out. And I realized, that it was a catastrophe, an abortion, a monstrosity. So I just was, really set back. So then I just shrugged my shoulders and said, oh, okay, I will smoke day and night until I can try and save this thing, if it can be saved. And I did. I did smoke day and night, and I did struggle with this thing, and it was not possible to breathe life into that corpse. This book, I'll just tell you the title in order to convince you that this thing should have died a borning. It was called, I blush to tell you, it was called Crypto Rap, Meta-Electrical Speculations on Culture. Terrible, terrible. So I realized then, at that point, that I was a fool to try to navigate life without cannabis, and that it would just get me in terrific trouble, and that I lost my way and couldn't make judgments and had no discrimination, and so forth and so on. Anybody? Yes, sir, you've been struggling mightily to be heard. Next.
I've taken LSD over 1,000 times, and I've taken psychedelic plants a couple hundred times. And I agree that plants are superior, and I prefer them over LSD. However, real, true LSD, such as orange sunshine, is a phenomenal mystery, in my experience, compared to the rinky-dink acid that's going around these days. But to the guy who was talking about LSD, I wanted to say that LSD is not confusing. It's the environment and the accumulative unconscious mind, the things that your unconscious mind has collected, that is confusing. It's the environment and society and what they program into your computer that is confusing, not good, true LSD.
But on one level, LSD is confusing, which is that when you buy it, you don't know what you've got. That's truly confusing.
If you buy it from people who don't chant mantras and aren't into a high state of spiritual awareness and vegetarianism. I get it from people who
And I know weasels who chant mantras every day.
And they have to know chemistry.
I know where I get it. I know where I get it from.
But see, that's too much to ask of most people. I recall a conversation I had once with a psychotherapist about MDMA. And he said, it doesn't matter that it's toxic at twice the ordinary dose, because I would never give somebody twice the ordinary dose. And I said, but X, you don't understand. People pop this stuff like pretzels down on Sunset Strip. So you have to think of the fool. The fool is always with us. And, No.
I've eaten a whole sheet of 100 doses of LSD.
Well, maybe the fool is not always with us with an attitude like that. No, but it is, the thing about LSD that's confusing is the difficulty to tell what you've got until you're out in it. Shishi, what was your point? Ba 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 ba.
Being that you're both in many ways a master of words, I want to go back and pick up on this fine line that you admittedly are walking in describing the plants as an ally, and at the same time describing them as a tool, and continually talking about use. And I find also in the questions using the word take a lot, which is our common language around this. And people have asked some questions about the ritual, and also Ralph, I was glad to hear, brought up intention. And I'm curious, knowing that in the Native American traditions there are very simple teachings that respect the exchange when you interact with a plant, whether you pick a piece of sage, you give a giveaway at that point, whether it be some saliva, whether it be something that you offer, that in the traditions that you have been working with, if either within the intention or within the rituals there are these kinds of giveaways and exchanges, and you might comment some more on those so that they can sort of fill our body in this way. Or you might share also some of your own if you carry that deep sense of ally.
You want to do that?
Well, it's hard to describe a ritual, and they are not only the rituals. I think Terence and I share an abiding interest in the rituals surrounding these plants in traditional cultures, and at the same time, I feel, and I think he probably agrees too, that it's not a matter of copying the Indians. We live in a different time, in a different place, so I see a lot of very fruitful experimentation going on. Experimentation that's not just random, and that's informed by clear intention and by deep study and reflection, and grows organically. So I see people have numerous groups and circles of people that have worked with these substances, both the synthetic and the plants, do have serious intentions and bring to bear a certain creativity that emerges out of those experiences onto how best utilize the experience while it is a matter, the plant itself is the thing that you take, so but it's the meaning behind it, the spirit behind it, that's really significant. The significance of the psychedelic movement is not the drugs, it's the experience that was facilitated by the drugs, and that in itself then makes the plants or drugs significant. It's a kind of a paradoxical thing. I don't know if I'm getting at your question. So I think there are rituals, and one of the basic rituals that I've become most familiar with and is adapted from, I know groups that use some of these substances, in a ritual that's adapted from the Native American church, and yet it's not a Native American church ritual. I would not presume to try to run, for example, a Native American ritual or try to direct one, or so, because that's something that's taught by those who have been initiated in that way, and it's passed on that way. But some of the basic core features, such as sitting around in a circle around either a fire or in darkness, and having something like a talking staff, which is a ritual that comes very strong in the Northwest American Indians, Northwest Coast. The talking staff often used in councils, and also in the peyote church, that's the staff and rattle are passed around for people to sing during the ceremony, which allows each individual who is participating in the circle experience, group experience, to express some part of their own visions through their song or their statement, and yet each person's own individual vision and journey is honored. In other words, you don't react to it, you don't respond to it, you don't give encounter group challenges, questions, arguments, and so forth. Is that getting at what you're asking? I'm not sure. Okay.
Two things about it. I'm not looking for a description, of the whole ritual per se, as much as I'm tracking what you brought up earlier in the week about, the weekend, about this memory that was way before, that there's some relationship with the plants that in our modern time and even in the traditional societies perhaps has been overlooked or forgotten or shifted. And I'm curious about the experience of giveaway, the experience of exchange, which is part of this relationship with plants, which very quickly gets lost in our language and in some of our modern usage of them as tools. So I was looking for any sort of traces of that in your own sort of use, relationship with them, and also curious because this topic has come up in terms of the cultures in which these plants are culled from or visited, that these are also the cultures which seemingly are having a great deal of difficulty holding on to their plants. In other words, the destruction of the rainforests, etc. And what is that all about in terms of this allyship?
Right. I'll just say briefly, and then
Yeah, go ahead, then I'll say something.
What I get from that was that you're asking, what are we giving the plant in